Some lessons you learn by observing others, and some you learn just the hard way. This is the story of how I learned my lesson the very hard way. I messed up in so many ways. I realized this was true the day I got out and a good friend of mine picked me up at the gate. "Come on, mate, beer's on me. You must be thirsty." If I had just gone to his place that fateful night, if I had just turned around, walked away, and divorced that bitch, the last 7 years would have been very different. My name is John Edward Mackenzie. My parents call me Johnny. When I was a teenager, my teachers and coaches started calling me Johnny Mac. When I went to work, they just called me Mac. It stayed that way ever since. Everyone but my parents just call me Mac. There are 2 things you need to know about me. The first is that I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6 feet tall and I keep myself in pretty good shape. I don't have a very stressful job, so I go to the gym a few days a week. People meeting me immediately assume that I played football in high school. I hate football. Football is idiotic. That's the game of football in a nutshell. Line up, kick the ball, run into the guy in front of you, line up, kick the ball, run into the guy in front of you, line up. You know what I mean? I didn't play it. I don't watch it. Football is stupid. Here's the second thing you need to know. My whole life, I've been a guy who didn't get angry. I stayed calm no matter what was going on. My wife, on the other hand, had a nasty temper. She didn't discuss, she argued. She would say anything, do anything to win the smallest disagreement and get her way. She was manipulative, vindictive, and a lying whore, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The only good thing I can say about her is, thank God the divorce was final 7 years ago. I met Dolores a few years after I graduated from high school. Everyone called her Dory, like the boat. I had a good job at a factory that made brushes. Just kidding. We made toothbrushes, clothes brushes, brushes the size of your fist that you clean pots in the sink with, and really nice brushes with wooden handles that were sold in woodworking shops. It wasn't high tech, but I was making good money at it, and my nights and weekends belonged to me. I was happy. Dory was incredible in bed. She believed in the 3rd date rule, but I didn't know it until I drove her home at the end of our 3rd date. She was trying to kill me with sex. I almost dialed 911 to report assault with a dangerous broad. I slept very well that night, and the next morning she attacked me again. After that, we became a couple. We met every few days and all weekend. We went everywhere together, and it wasn't long before I popped the question to her. This is a lesson for you that I learned the hard way, and you can learn from my mistake. Don't rush into marriage. It takes a long time to really get to know a person, and I didn't have enough time. I married a loving, committed woman who was eager to give me sex all the time, and very soon after I said I love, we didn't work out. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. The sex was good for about a year, maybe 18 months, and the marriage was good too. We got along great. She laughed at my bad jokes, and we enjoyed being together. Then gradually the good things started to wane. She became less attracted to me. Sex became a little less frequent, and then not at all. Every day or two became once a week or two if I was lucky, and less often if she was in a bad mood, which happened more and more often. When we did have sex, it was more like mercy sex to keep me in line. As the good things fell away, the bad things got bigger. The credit card bills got bigger and bigger. She was working late, going out more with her girlfriends, and getting tired at night. She wanted dinner delivered to her, which we usually cooked together. I knew reality would come sooner or later, but it wasn't a reality I was excited about. All the while, I remained calm. I tried to talk to Dory about our life. I tried to put some spark into our evenings and weekends. I even suggested we go on a little holiday, but nothing came of it. If she didn't like the conversation, it turned into an argument. If the argument continued, the punishment began. I knew where it was going and tried to make her understand, but she didn't care. She knew what she wanted, and that's the way it was going to be. I couldn't understand why. What happened next should have taught me that holding it in wasn't going to work. Dory started bringing her girlfriends home from work and inviting them over for dinner. Those were the nights she didn't go out with them. Dinner meant I had to buy food for 5, me, my wife, and 3 bitches, because she was too busy going to her girlfriends' houses to cook. Whenever I entered the room, I was asked to go somewhere, do this or get that. It became quite clear that I was not welcome here. One evening I was sitting in the spare bedroom reading when I heard her friend Betty say, "My God, he's such a wuss. How can you stand him?" Dory laughed. Are you kidding? He does everything I say. He puts up with everything. Hell, I could fuck George right here in the living room and he wouldn't even raise his voice. I couldn't believe my ears. First of all these bitches can go fuck themselves. And secondly, who the hell is George? Look, guys who stay calm are not guys without emotion, and I'm not a wuss. Let's get this straight. I feel everything that every hot-headed arsehole feels. I just don't want to create more problems that need to be solved. I believe that two people who have good intentions can find a middle ground and work out their problems. But it was becoming increasingly clear to me that the only golden mean between these bitches and me was when they were on their knees at my feet, begging me not to throw them out into the street alive. Dory kept up. Maybe I'm a weakling. I just sat there and weighed my options. I didn't run. I didn't confront them all. I didn't shove their collective arses out the door. I didn't shove my wife into a chair and yell at her until she squirmed into the cushion. I just sat there thinking, what happened to that wonderful woman I married? I couldn't find her anywhere. It felt like we were heading towards the end. Eventually, the bitches left. I mean, all the bitches were gone except for my own personal bitch. She poked her head into the room and announced she was going to bed. Walking out into the living room, I found empty wine glasses and snack bowls that needed to be sent to the sink. Yes, I may be a wimp, but I'm tired of being disrespected. I would be patient and think things through, but things had to change. The next evening, I sat her down at the table. Dory, we need to talk. I'm tired of putting up with disrespect from you and your snarling friends. You ignore me at night. You and your friends say mean things behind my back. I'm your husband, not your whipping boy. We can't go on like this. We have to make a change or we won't make it work. The bitch laughed. Don't be ridiculous. It was just talk. No one meant anything by it. Who's George? I asked. That set her off. She blushed, but immediately backed away. What do you mean, who is George? You mentioned George last night. Who is George? What are you accusing me of? Do you think I'm cheating on you? Are you accusing me of something? I'm asking you, who is George? I'm not going to be interrogated. I'm your wife, damn it. And if you think you can accuse me of cheating, you can sleep in the guest room tonight and every night until you change your mind. Dory retired to bed and I heard the bedroom door slam. As I sat there thinking about this eruption, one thought swirled around in my head. I asked, who is George? And she said, do you think I'm cheating on you? That's not really an answer to the question, is it? I never accused her of cheating. I never mentioned her comment to the bitches about sleeping with George in the living room or even raised my voice. I only asked point blank, who is George? That year, winter came early in our house. There were evenings during the next week when we didn't say two words to each other. On Saturday, she would go shopping, and on Sunday, she would get together with the bitches. Eventually, there was a thaw, and I was invited back into our bedroom, but it was far from a honeymoon. The beginning of the end came 3 months after I overheard a remark about George. The company was sending me to Ohio, where they had a plant that was having problems. I had already developed a reputation as Mr. Fix-It, and they needed something fixed, so I went to Ohio. I called Dory every night, and she always answered. The calls were short, and I wouldn't say I looked forward to them, but we functioned at some minimal level. It was done, I always like to say that, and I headed home. Truth be told, I surprised myself. We got the plant up and running faster than I expected, and I went home ahead of schedule. You knew what was going to happen next, didn't you? I didn't. If I had, things might have turned out differently. I walked through my front door around 10 o'clock at night. Dory's car was parked in the driveway. The lights were off. There were men's and women's clothes lying on the living room floor, and I heard voices in the bedroom. It was only a matter of listening, and I realized what was going on. The sound was unmistakable. My anger was growing by the second. I lifted the man's trousers and opened his wallet. The driver's license read George Noble. If anyone was to be misnamed, it was Mr. Noble. There's nothing honorable about sleeping with another man's wife. I don't keep guns in the house, but I do keep an old-fashioned wooden baseball bat by the door. I keep them for home defense and as a memento of my childhood. I took the bat and headed for the bedroom. As I walked down the corridor, I heard moaning and grunting. My wife called out, "Oh, George, yes. Oh, God, yes. Oh, shit, George."